I don't know if you noticed this, guys, but if you look behind here, that's a beach, and that's because we're actually here in Langkawi, and it's actually my first time here in about 10 years or so. So it's pretty exciting for me to be able to come out, especially after all of this COVID pandemic, MCO kind of lockdown thing, to come out here and to really experience a different backdrop at the very least. To be fair, I'm still here to work, so I probably won't have the time to just chill on the beach or even swim in the ocean, but at the very least, I have the all-new Honda City Hatchback to bring me around Langkawi for the next 2 days. So join me as I share with you how the Honda City Hatchback actually performs in a almost daily driving sort of experience, from mountainous, twisty roads to even driving through smaller kampung-style road. And yeah, I'll see you in the car. So just as I said that... Well, actually, you won't be joining me in the car just yet, because if you saw the background just now, it basically started pouring right after I filmed that intro and didn't stop for the rest of the day. The crew told me that it was the first time that it rained the entire week, but I guess we'll just have to chalk it up to pure bad luck. Anyway, I just wanted to keep you all in the loop, so let's carry on with the video. Hey guys, so good news is we basically managed to wait out the rain, but the not so good news, it's actually day 2 of our trip here in Langkawi. But that's okay, because yesterday we basically got to recce where the nicer driving roads around Langkawi and actually truly spend time with the City Hatchback. So today all I have to do is really bring you around Langkawi and share with you my experiences of living with the Honda City Hatchback. So let's go check it out. But before we head on drive, let me just show you our subject of the day, which is this Honda City Hatchback. So the car for our drive these 2 days is actually the Honda City Hatchback RS variant, which is the top of the range variant with all of the sportier trims on the outside, but more importantly, the EHEV hybrid variant. I'll talk about the powertrain in just a bit, but on the outside, I'm sure you've already seen our walk around video or all of the other videos on the internet, because this car is not exactly new, but just as a quick brush through, you get all of the blacked out bits on the front grille and the wing mirror. You also get these carbon fiber looks on the front splitter as well as the rear bumpers. And there's also a variant exclusive fog light housing with extra streaks on the side. Moving over to the side, these wheels are also exclusive to the RS, and they are 16 inches in size with a two-tone silver and black look. Moving over to the back here, as I mentioned earlier, this bumper also have the same carbon fiber look to it, and the bumpers itself are actually exclusive to the RS variant as well. As you can see in the middle there, there's sort of like a vertical bit, and I think it's supposed to mimic the sort of regenerative braking lights on the F1 cars. But as a whole, I think the car looks really cool, especially ours over here, because this car also gets the extra modulo kit, which comes with the skirtings all around at the bottom there, as well as, check this out, this unique tailgate spoiler with the extra 2 bits sticking out the top here. I also really like how the tail light here is actually sort of 3-dimensional. So the light signature here is actually protruding out a bit, and from certain angles it actually looks really cool. And I know what you're gonna say, it looks just like a A-Class, or it looks like the lights of the 3 Series, but really it doesn't really matter, because as a whole the car just looks really good, especially I think from this exact angle. So in terms of dimension, this car compared to the sedan is actually shorter by 20.4 cm, because obviously there's no boot over here. They've also given it a little bit more height over the sedan, especially near the back here, to sort of give it a more proportionate look. And well, I mean, just feast your eyes on this. Well, on the inside here, it really just looks like the city sedan, especially the RS one is pretty much identical. But just for the benefit of those who really haven't seen the walk around of either of these cars, well, let me just point out a few RS exclusive touches. First of all is the instrument cluster, which gets a hybrid setup. You get a 7-inch digital sight on the left here, which shows you a central speedometer, digital speedometer I should add,
And it actually shows you a few different displays, including a very cool power flow display that shows you, especially when you're driving, what's charging the batteries, what's powering the wheels. And on the left side, if you notice, there's actually no RPM display over there. Well, the reason for that is because firstly, this is a hybrid, but also uniquely because the EHEV hybrid system is a bit different. And for the most part, the thing that is driving the wheels is actually the electric motors. So what this ring around it display is actually the power meter, showing in a way essentially how much you're pressing on the accelerator, and when you're braking, how much is doing its own regenerative charging. Now on this RS variant, you also get the red stitching around the steering wheel, as well as on the trims all around the interior. And also uniquely, there's the red lights surrounding the knobs of the aircon controls. And when you're driving, looking down there with a bit of red hint, I think that looks really nice. Also unique to the range-topping RS is the electronic parking brake over here, and over at the side you can already see the fabric here. Honda actually calls it the Ultra Suede, which is sort of like a microfiber texture. Well, I don't think it provides that much more grip like the Alcantara, but at the very least, I think it looks pretty cool. But the best part of these seats though is actually the side bolsters over here, because they actually provide quite a lot of support when you're driving through the twistier roads, as we'll experience later. Now don't mind the mess over there because we're actually carrying 3 passengers in one car. But the RS variant also got a exclusive center console with this rear blowing vents for the aircon. All the other variants just get like a small box over here where you can slot your phone in basically. But of course, the main highlight of the Honda City Hatchback is actually the seats behind here. It's called the Ultra seats. It basically allows a lot of flexibility for you to configure your rear seats. You can either flip it down in a 40-60 split, so you can put longer items inside your boot. And when you fold down the seats, check this out, the bottom actually moves forward and down. And when it's down, the floor here is actually completely flat all the way into the boot, so you can put your longer items, or maybe like when you go shopping in IKEA, you can put your flat pack items all the way in front here. And there's also this thing called the long mode, which you can also fold down the front here, and the entire thing is just flat. So there's really a lot of flexibility here for however you want to configure your interior to fit whatever you need to fit inside here. And last but not least, there's also a tall mode, which basically lifts up the bottom part of this seat like so. So if you have any taller items, you can actually just stuff it into the back seats over here through the rear doors, and you don't have to lie it down sideways from the boot. Look at that. So really, there's a lot of flexibility here on the rear seats. And these Ultra seats, they were a hallmark feature on the Jazz previously, and they've now bring it over to the City Hatchback. And well, if you ask me, the City Hatchback just looks a lot better as a whole. In terms of a package, I think it offers a lot more as well. Let me just open the boot at the back here to sort of like show you what it's like to fit the luggages for 3 passengers on a short 2-day trip. So these are all airplane size hand carry luggages, and we managed to fit 3 in there with space for another backpack over here, a backpack over here. And of course, like I said just now, you can actually fold down the seats if you need more storage. Sitting at the back of the City Hatchback, the first thing you realize is just how much knee room you have over here. I mean, look at this is almost ridiculous. I can even put my feet up like this with no issues at all. But because it's also a hatchback with sort of a sloping roofline, the headspace over here does sort of get impeded a little bit. So if you're sitting straight up, I'm about 173 cm tall. Well, your head does sort of get knocked into the roof a little bit. So to get comfortable, you really have to sort of lean back a little bit. But when you do that, you'll start to realize the seats here don't actually extend that far out. So your thighs here don't get that much support, and that's really a shame. And one last quick thing before we head out on a drive. If you really need to take a quick nap in your car, well, the City Hatchback can actually lie down flat like this. So I guess this City Hatchback is pretty good on longer journeys as well, but please don't camp in here.
Well, as if the trip wasn't already eventful enough, my GoPro also decided to bail on me on the last second, so unfortunately you'll just have to bear with this footage. But I can still tell you a little bit about how the car drives. Setting off in the Honda City Hatchback RS, and the first thing you'll notice is just how quiet it is, even at speeds of up to 80 km/h. And that's because the car is still primarily driven by the electric motors, with the engine just running at a fairly low RPM to charge the batteries. Honda says that the electric motors can drive the car at up to speeds of 120 km/h, and only beyond that will the lock-up clutch engage for the engine to drive the wheels directly. We didn't really have that kind of roads in Langkawi to test it out, but it's supposed to help you save even more fuel. Now, for the younger crowd who don't really care too much about fuel efficiency or noise, the good news is the City Hatchback handles just as well as it looks. The steering is direct and nicely weighted, with enough feedback to really give you the confidence to tackle twistier back roads. And to be honest, I'll even call it genuinely fun to drive, with the shorter rear end giving a little more play on the rear axle. The brakes feels really nice as well, with a linear pedal action and not too much travel. And the most impressive part is that the car is still doing all of its own calculations to figure out how much of that is done by actual braking and how much is via the regenerative braking system. It really gives you a lot of confidence to attack the corners if you really want to. But if there's one thing I can pick on though, is that I can really do with a little bit more power, because the chassis can handle so much more. Now, the infamous 253 Nm of torque is really apparent in city driving situations, and it makes short overtakes really easy. But at higher speeds, the eCVT gearing and the lower horsepower output does start to show itself, as the car really doesn't give you the feeling of instant acceleration, but rather a quick but gradual increase in speed. But then again, as the name suggests, it's still a car primarily designed for city use. And if that's all you're doing, at least for the majority of your time spent driving it, then the City Hatchback might be one of the most complete packages that you can buy right now.